We need to talk about Sinners because movies are back. I have been worried about the movie year 2025 because it has been rough, but we are so back. Cinema is back. I don't know if you can tell, but I loved Sinners. Set in Clarksdale, Mississippi in 1932, the movie is about twin brothers Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan, who return to their hometown looking to leave their troubled lives behind and start again. They want to open a juke joint and bring the community together for a night of music and partying, but little do they know that this party will also attract the evil that's been lurking in the shadows. Now, you guys know I love me some good vampire horror, but it can be pretty challenging to make this subgenre feel fresh and fun without making it feel cheesy, but Sinners is great vampire horror. Ryan Coogler just knows what he's doing, and his talent is undeniable. The way he tells this story almost feels genre-bending and might make you think of something like From Dusk Till Dawn, but more polished and more sensual. It's bold, it's creative, it's exhilarating, and it's impactful. The writer-director spends time letting us get to know the characters, getting us invested, making us care, and not just about the leads, but also the supporting players. But this does not mean that the movie is a slow burn in a bad way, that you just have to sit there and wait to get through those parts, or that those introductions are somehow less entertaining. No, not at all. Sinners is so much fun. It is such a great time from beginning to end. It has the entertainment quality of a blockbuster. It feels like a blockbuster, but it does not sacrifice the style or the substance. The entire first act of the movie is about the twins assembling the crew for this juke joint party. And because we're going from character to character, it moves really well. But Coogler is also using every bit of dialogue and time here to actually introduce characters in a meaningful way beyond just, hey, this is so-and-so and he plays the piano. We get a good sense of their dynamics and relationships, and none of it feels like an info dump. These are characters that feel like actual people, each with their own complicated past. People who have been through hardship, grief, pain, who had to find joy and find themselves through all of that, and some of them are still in search of who they are. There is such a beautiful, strong sense of community here. Just thank you, Ryan Coogler, for actually taking the time with these characters and not just making them into some cliche nonsense or caricatures or stereotypes. As you're watching the movie, you care about them. You care about what happens to them. And when things get intense, it matters. Man, the state of movies is rough when I'm sitting here like, oh wow, well-written characters. What a breath of fresh air. Wow. We also need to talk about Michael B. Jordan playing Smoke and Stack because are we sure this wasn't two different actors? Like, does he maybe have a secret twin? Because this was a very impressive performance and easily his best to date. The two twins feel so distinct from one another with their mannerisms and personalities, the way they interact with people and with each other. They actually feel like two different people, but they also do feel like brothers. I was blown away. Genuinely loved this whole cast, not a single weak link here. And again, everyone feels like a real person with their own motivations and quirks. All of these actors are brilliant. Now, when we get to Act 2, this is where the party is at, and this is also where we get to really feel the themes. I say feel because you do understand from the very beginning what the themes are and what we are working towards, but there is a scene in the second act that is You will know it when you see it. Everybody's going to be talking about it, and you really don't just watch it. You feel it deeply. I thought I was going to levitate watching that, I swear. Without getting into specifics, there is a scene at the juke joint where one of the central characters, a boy named Sammy, sings in front of everyone for the first time, and the only way to describe it is cinema magic. The way this scene communicates the power of music feels like a spiritual experience. I was completely entranced. I cannot stress this enough. I have not felt this way at the cinema in a while. Music is integral to this film, and the way it's portrayed here is almost like a supernatural force that transcends time and place. Not literally, it's not a movie about musical superpowers, but you get the impact and you get the emotional and cultural weight. I made multiple notes about the soundtrack and the score while watching because the music goes so hard here. I was not expecting that. I mean, it's Ludwig Göransson with the score here. He doesn't miss, but this was perfect. Perfection. And apparently they actually filmed to the music that was going to be in the movie. Ludwig was on set working with them, which is something I've never heard of being done before, and that is so interesting and so unusual. I watched some interviews with the actors saying how this affected their performance and kind of guided them. And honestly, this sounds so fitting for this particular film and a story that's so tied into the music. It really is the heart and soul of this movie. So much of it is about how tightly music, culture, and community are intertwined. And Ryan Coogler does everything to bring the viewers into that experience. It's emotional, it's powerful, it transports you, it's a gift, it's a universal language. And while we're on the topic of music, I have to mention Miles Caton, who plays Preacher Boy Sammy, the young cousin of Smoke and Stack, and a naturally gifted blues musician. He is fantastic. He's going to be a star, and apparently he learned how to play guitar for this movie. I would have never known. What an amazing talent. Now, all of this is going on while evil is slowly brewing in the background because this is a vampire horror movie after all. You don't get that vampire presence right away, but it is slowly increasing and escalating as the movie goes on until we get to that all-out vampire mayhem. And as a connoisseur of vampire movies, I have to say, those vampires look great. In the beginning, I was a bit worried that the vampire aspect was going to be underplayed and that it got overrepresented in the trailers, but it turned out I had nothing to worry about. The vampire mayhem did not disappoint. They look menacing, they act menacing, there is some vampire lore involved that is intertwined with folklore that actually gives a reason for a familiar vampire trope, while also making sense as to why these vampires are after this party in particular. So it's not just wrong place, wrong time type of coincidence. The action when we get there is excellent, and it does get pretty brutal. It's intense, it's gory, and it matters because it's happening to the characters we care about. Jack O'Connell plays Remick the vampire, and I loved that you could actually feel his age. You definitely get the sense that this is a vampire who is older than he looks, who's been around for a long time, and who knows exactly how to get what he's after. But then he also has that musical and cultural element to him, which is used in a really fun way that I'm not going to spoil. All of this goes back to music, community, and culture. It's great. I haven't even talked about the technical aspects of this, so let me rave about that for a minute because as far as the filmmaking goes, Sinners is excellent. Visually, it looks beautiful. The gorgeous cinematography is evident in the trailers, but the editing in those is pretty chaotic. So let me assure you, it looks even better when you're watching the movie itself. There is a very distinct vibe to this film that is magnetic and unique music that really makes it stand out. The sunsets, the landscapes, the lighting, the color palette, the lived-in feel of the setting, the textures, the way the shadows and darkness are used. It is a stunning film. On top of that, there are some fun things done with the sound design that plays into the storytelling, and the pacing makes the movie fly by. I was a bit skeptical when I saw that the runtime was 2 hours and 17 minutes. That is a lot of runtime for a horror film to sustain the tension and the intensity, but Sinners pulls it off. The pacing is actually very smart, and thanks to the way it's edited, the movie flows really well. They knew exactly when to slow things down and give the story some room to breathe, and when to ramp things up. All of the elements are working together here, making this film into the memorable experience that it is. Also, very important, do not leave when the movie ends. There is a mid-credits scene that is actually pretty long and very important to the story, so you do not want to miss that. And there is also a quick post-credits scene, so definitely stay for those. Sinners really worked for me on every level, and I would have gone to see it again the next day if I could. This is that true cinematic experience and celebration of epic genre filmmaking that I have been waiting for this year. I loved it so much. Chat, do not let this movie flop. Don't you dare. Because this is the exciting, original, brilliantly made, capital C cinema we have been asking for, and we need to let Hollywood know that this is what we want. How do we let them know? With our dollars. Otherwise, if movies like this do poorly, we're just going to get more of that lazy franchise slop. Sinners is exhilarating, bold, electrifying, tense, sexy, and unforgettable. We didn't even talk about the sexy part, but it's there and it's glorious. This movie is horny. We love to see it. Ryan Coogler is at his best with this genre-bending vampire horror film. Michael B. Jordan is at the top of his game. This movie is fun, but it also has great characters, and there is meaning behind all of this. You have cultures colliding, you have amazing music, you have one hell of a party, you have action and gore. Sinners should be seen and heard on the biggest screen possible with the best sound possible, and if you can see it in IMAX, you absolutely should. I saw it in IMAX and the fluctuating aspect ratio was doing things for me. It is 100% worth it. I can't wait to see it again. This is the best movie of the year by a mile at the moment. Some will say this movie gets a bit self-indulgent, and maybe it does, but this is the kind of self-indulgence I am here for. And if this is what sin is, I don't want to be blessed.